good people out there. You are on to the brief. This is the very last edition for the week. And yesterday was a National Day in Cameroon, though activities marking that day were suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And on today's edition of the program, we are looking at the recent reports published by the audit bench of the Supreme Court concerning the management of COVID-19 funds in the country. And the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road is equally a major headlines with some Anglophone newspapers or English language newspapers, not leaving out the recent move taken by the government of Cameroon to destroy illicit arms in the southwest region of Cameroon. Those are the major headlines we have for you today in the papers. Let's go find out what the French newspapers have for their readers this morning with Audrey Zaxa. Bonjour Audrey.
Bonjour Rachel Kingsley. Bonjour à vous, fidèles téléspectateurs. C'est la dernière édition de cette semaine et le rapport de l'audit de la Chambre des comptes en rapport avec la gestion des fonds publics et bien sûr l'élection du nouveau maire de Bangangté, Eric Mignat, meuble de la presse francophone, choisi par notre rédaction ce matin. Et on débute notre activité avec le journal Le Messager qui en parle. D'ailleurs, Eric Mignat a été porté à la tête de l'exécutif municipal de la commune de Bangangté. Il a été élu 21 fois contre 18 bulletins nuls le 19 mai. Le vice-président du Sénat, Marcel Mignat, succède ainsi au Dr Jonas Kouamo, décédé il y a quelques semaines. Poursuivons avec le quotidien bilingue Émergence qui parle de tests Covid-19 d'après le journal, ou en tout cas d'après ce que titre le journal, la transparence a prévalu dans la validation des prix par le Mincommerce. Le journal rapporte que le prix validé était de 17 500 francs CFA par kit de 25 tests, mais l'entreprise Medilin Medical Cameroun SA, société anonyme, a livré à 17 500 francs CFA l'unité, contrairement aux recommandations de la commission spéciale mise sur pied par le ministre Mbarga Atangana. Vous aurez donc les détails de cette information dans la page 5 du journal bilingue Émergence. Et le même journal renseigne de ce que Human Rights Watch, dans un rapport, a expliqué que 250 personnes ont été tuées dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest depuis depuis janvier 2021. Dans Essingang, on parle du rapport de la Chambre des comptes. Le taux de criminalité du MinSanté se précise. D'après le journal, il est recommandé l'ouverture de 10 procédures pénales contre des gestionnaires et opérateurs économiques dans l'acquisition des équipements au profit du MinSanté. Par exemple, il y a un grand écart entre l'allocution de certains montants d'argent, soit une marge de 20 milliards, également à la charge de Manaouda Malachi, le paiement à la caisse de plus de 20 millions de francs CFA en violation de la réglementation en vigueur. La juridiction déplore aussi une application des prix supérieurs à ceux prévus par la Mercury et la fiche de validation du Mincommerce. Vous aurez en tout cas l'information dans la page 7 de Essingan. Terminons avec le journal Mutation qui parle également du même scandale Covid à l'emporte milliard. Le journal renseigne que le rapport d'audit de la Chambre des comptes met à nu de graves fautes de gestion, et le décryptage d'un économiste est dans la page 4 et 5 de Mutation. Voilà pour les tabloïds en langue française. Place aux tabloïds en langue anglaise avec toi, Alasha Kingsley.
Thank you, Audrey Zaxa. Let's kick start with the Guardian Post newspaper, which revisits the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road. This time around, the paper, in one of its major headlines, writes a deplorable state of Bamenda Babaju Road. Northwest senators, parliamentarians threaten to march on Yaoundé. According to the paper, as the jinx of the deplorable state of the Bomenda Babaju stretch of road is yet to be broken. Members of the National Assembly and senators from the northwest regions of the country have vented their anger over the issue. The lawmakers are equally threatening to march on Yaoundé as part of efforts to twist government to take prompt action on the road. Some of the senators and parliamentarians have put the blame for the non-construction of the Bamenda Babaju stretch of road at the doorsteps of the Minister of Public Works of Cameroon, Emmanuel Ngannou Djoumisi, accusing him of showing disdain for and despising the Anglophones. According to the newspaper, they also accuse Minister Ngannou Djoumisi of bad faith, lies telling and making false promises over the construction of the road. We continue with this other headlines, still with the Guardian Post newspaper, to talk about over 14 persons who have reportedly died in mining fields within 4 months in the east region of the country. This is a recent report published by a non-governmental organization, Forest and Rural Development, concerning the 14 persons who died within 4 months in the east region of the country in mining fields in that part of the country. And let's talk about the resilience of Cameroon's economy despite COVID-19 and insecurity. Report rates Cameroon's economy outlook positive. More details in this edition of the newspaper. And customs impounds huge quantity of smuggled gold in Yaoundé. That's at the Yaoundé Simale International Airport. A Cameroonian was intercepted by elements of the National Security Forces at that airport, about to smuggle chunk quantities of gold to Addis Ababa, capital of Ethiopia. We continue with Municipal Updates newspaper, which revisits the ceremony that took place in Boya in the southwest region of Cameroon. We are talking about silencing the guns. Government, international community declare war against illicit arms in Cameroon. Ceremony to that effect took place earlier this week and was chaired by Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute. We end with Horizon newspaper. The Horizon this morning is interested in the COVID-19 audit that was presented recently by the audit bench of the Supreme Court. Manawuda Malachi, Magdalene Twente indicted for abuse when it comes to the management of COVID-19 funds in Cameroon. Thank you for watching, televiewers. We are back in the studio to continue with our discussion this morning, and the National Communications Secretary of the Popular Action Party, in the person of Mbane Elvis Jenny, is still with us again this morning. He was here with us yesterday and he's coming back for us to end the week together. Thank you so much, sir, for staying with us. This time around we are with the recent report that has been published by the audit bench of the Supreme Court, talking about some 15 ministers who have been indicted for or are being accused of the management of COVID-19 funds in the country. I begin with the Horizon newspaper, citing Manawuda Malachi and Magdalene Twente of Scientific Research in the country.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Lasha. Good morning, Audrey, and good morning to all viewers of My Prime Media. Well, I want to think that citing ministers maybe who are accused of having embezzled COVID-19 funds is not anything new to us that we've seen in other cases before in the country. But what we are more concerned with would be the fact that what happens after that. Because just citing the ministers to Cameroonians, we are used to that. We know that almost all the leaders we have in this country who occupy certain offices have been used to embezzling funds in the country, but they are still there for years now. So the most important thing is not just indicting some persons who have embezzled funds, but to see how far the government is going to drive on with this particular case. That is what Cameroonians are more concerned with. If you cite ministers to the who embezzle and tomorrow they still maintain their offices, and then next time maybe there is an issue in the country, we still see them the government giving them allocating other funds for them to continue mismanaging them, then I think it's not serious. And that is the thing we keep declaring with this country, with this regime in particular. The problem is not just indicting people, but that adequate measures or sanctions should be taken. Because if you indict,
will the sanction bring back the money? That's the question.
No, but when the
Cameroonians have died, others have, are still suffering because
even when they are held, what happens to the money?
Where's the money? Why have it?
It goes back to the ensemble of things we are decrying. Because let's forget about COVID-19. There are ministers today maybe who are behind bars for embezzlement. But have they ever told Cameroonians this is the amount they have been able to retrieve?
No. Recently, a court in the nation's political capital updated the list of assets of Mbengo, where we had over 53 buildings, both in Cameroon and in France, owned by Mbengo, 24 bank accounts, several fleet of cars, and 3 safes with foreign currencies. So why would you say what you're saying?
What I'm saying is this, Mr. Lasha. We were updated on his assets. But concretely, do they ever tell Cameroonians that for all the ministers have been arrested, this is the amount of money they have?
No, but CONAC has come up with a list recently telling us the amount of money they've been able to retrieve or recover from embezzlers within a certain period of time.
Do you remember that if you take people like I don't know, Ondondongs and the others, they went to prison with accusations of get up to worth maybe even 50 billion per person? Now, if you take just one human being with that amount of money, and then all the others that we know of, people who went to prison earning over 1.8 billion a month with more than 2,600 bank accounts to their
accounts.
Good. So when you take all those sums of money and then maybe you look at the report from CONAC, do you really think that it is quite genuine? Given the amount of sums of money we know all those individuals have embezzled.
No human being is perfect now. CONAC is just striving to be able to stop these people who are
in reality, because the system in itself has decided not to be a perfect one. We are not saying that they should be perfection in what they do, but that the percentage, if we have to judge them by virtue of the percentage of work done, we should get to a favorable percentage where at least every Cameroonian should be able to say the government is doing something, the system is doing something. But what we are saying is this: if you accuse people of embezzling, let's say 10 billion, and at the end of the day, all what you can tell Cameroonians that maybe 500 million was maybe recovered, I don't think you are doing anything for Cameroonians.
Cameroonians complain of almost everything. When BIA had not ordered for the audit of the COVID-19, Cameroonians were shouting, crying. Now that the audit is out, you guys are still crying.
Mr. Lasha, do not misinterpret what I've said. I am saying Cameroonians shouted yes, he ordered yes. We should not therefore end at the level of the ordering and the level of saying that these are the people who embezzled. We should wait therefore and see how far government will go into getting back the money. That's what we are saying. Because the worry here is that we don't trust the government for what they may eventually do because they have been doing in the past. The question, what I'm saying is this: they have identified people therefore who embezzled, and the figures are known. Let's wait and see if the same government will come back to us to tell us that that money has been retrieved. The ministers we are certain they are there. They have left the country. And I don't want to think that if they actually did embezzle these sums of money, that they have already spent them by this time we are talking. The money is embedded in coffers either within the country or maybe in banks out of the country. So let the government therefore eventually push the case to the end and tell Cameroonians that what was discovered has been brought back into the coffers and that this is how it is going to serve. That's why I was going back to the issue of embezzlement to say that in the history of embezzlement and the Operation Sparrowhawk in this country, many people are behind bars today. But in reality, the amount of money announced to Cameroon has been retrieved does not actually represent anything.
So
as opposed to what people have in
what is the problem? Is the problem the president or the ministers themselves or Cameroonians?
No,
what is wrong with our country? What is wrong with our country?
Mr. Lasha Kingsley, the problem begins from the head of state. We cannot keep him to begin from the ministers.
But when the head of state at the Unity Palace, he gives you an assignment to go carry out. Did he ask Manauda Malachi to steal the money?
Does it mean that here at my major plan, when your boss sends you on the field for an assignment and you do not do it well, it is no longer part of his business? He should be able to call to us and find out why he didn't do
prison. That's why you have many ministers.
Who are the many people with
so these are the problem. The problem is Cameroonians.
The problem begins with the head of state.
Them. He gives
Mr. Lasha,
they keep deceiving
that 2% puri par la tête. It begins from up there. We cannot keep him to begin from below him. It's an impossibility. I have said a good number of a greater proportion of the ministers we have in this country are people who have all self-funded state budget in one way or the other. but he has maintained them and he keeps maintaining them in office.
So Mr. Dia would have gone look for foreigners to come and the
Who
ministers.
are the foreigners? Except that you as Lasha, you are telling me.
Half of the government, half of the people who have been in the government, they are at Kondengi. And even out of 35 plus ministers, 15 have been indicted for stealing COVID-19.
Do you want to tell Cameroonians that for you to keep appointing people who leave office and go to
so who should President Paul Biya appoint? That's my question. But almost everybody is bad. That's the question.
Are you trying to tell Cameroonians that if you were to be appointed someone, you will not do a good job? Are you telling Cameroonians that if you were appointed someone, you must steal like others have been doing? What we are saying is that there are genuine patriots out there who are asking just to serve the nation, but they are not given the possibility because they do not belong to the circle of Bia's friends. That's what we are saying. Look at this government very well. You understand that Mr. Bia functions textually with the same people. When the father is no longer there, he goes for the son. When the son is no longer there, he goes for his daughter, whatever thing. That's what we are saying. But people out there who are genuine and can serve this country, by virtue of the fact that they do not belong to his circle of friends, by virtue of the fact they do not belong to certain circles where they belong to, automatically you cannot be given that room to serve the nation. Give me a post in this country, and I will handle it well. And give an account to the people. That's what we are fighting.
Parlons un peu, désolé de vous couper, vous avez l'air très engagé, mais parlons un peu du cas précis du ministre de la Santé. Avant même cet audit, il y a eu tellement de spéculations. Il y a eu tellement de spéculations, même venant des hommes politiques, et on a vu un petit bras de fer entre lui et Ferdinand Ngongo. Et justement, le rapport de l'audit renseigne qu'il y a eu surfacturation dans l'acquisition des équipements médicaux et autres. Selon vous, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas une sorte de manigance contre lui?
Contre le ministre
de la Santé publique.
Et cette manigance vient de qui? Cette manigance vient de qui? Même s'il y a manigance, c'est toujours dans ce cercle-là. Ça veut dire que forcément, peut-être, il y a un partage qui ne s'est pas bien passé comme peut-être il le fallait. Puisqu'on a aussi vu les documents qui indiquent qu'il y a certains ministres qui ont peut-être eu accès à certains kits et qui ont revendu au ministre de la Santé, et les autres sont venus d'ailleurs peut-être pour les indiquer qu'il fallait qu'ils restituent l'argent. Donc même s'il y a manigance, je pense que c'est toujours entre eux. Cette manigance ne vient pas du bas peuple. Le bas peuple ne peut que décrire ce qu'ils voient, il ne peut que décrire ce qu'ils observent. Mais je dis ceci, s'il y a manigance et que à un moment donné, on indique actuellement qu'il a détruit de l'argent, n'est-ce pas? Mais qu'on attend, donc voici, en réalité, il a détruit cet argent, mais qui le restitue? S'il ne l'a pas fait, mais qu'il puisse démontrer qu'il n'a pas détruit de l'argent et qu'il indique donc où est-ce que ces fonds-là sont passés. Okay. When you are citing maybe Honorable Nietzsche, for instance, yeah, that is somebody I admire very much for his tenacity and courage and all what he does. But like we say, people will always be there to say and identify errors in the country, but the problem is that we say there is a regime in place that at one point in time does not even pay attention to what some of us say.
Okay.
They do their things outright because we have a system in place that goes outrightly against their own laws. Because the law is theirs, they have gone above the law, they have the military and all that.
The law is made by the people through their representatives.
No, unfortunately, we don't have representatives.
Okay, that's another topic of discussion for a different day. Let's talk about this move that is being planned by senators and members of parliament from the northwest and from northwest region of the country. We are talking about the Babaju Bamenda stretch of road. Senators and parliamentarians are threatening to march on Yaoundé for what they term negligence of the Babaju Bamenda stretch of road. How do you assess this move? How do you assess it? What is your own take?
Mr. Lasha, I think we saw MPs dance at the National Assembly with respect to the Southern Cameroon's crisis. It didn't change anything. Today, if they are talking about the Babaju Road, well, they are threatening to, they are not even march, they are still threatening to. Let them go and march and we'll see maybe if we will change something. The truth is that I appreciate them. They are just fighting maybe with what they have. Let them go march, maybe something will change. As of now, they are still just threatening, but I believe so much that actions do speak louder than words. Let's wait until they put actions into play, and then we'll see if government will respond to their march, and then maybe look at the Babaju Road. In the report, they mentioned something about maybe newspapers talking about, or the senators accusing the minister of lies, which is very true. I think yesterday here I mentioned it, that since 2016 the minister, Mr. Ngani Nchumesi, showed us caterpillars on this road, telling Cameroonians that work was ongoing, not even that they were supposed to begin, that work was ongoing. 4 or 5 years after, This is the state of the road as we see it here. Now, secondly, we talk about MPs and senators from the northwest and southwest. The question I want to ask is, what about the MPs and senators from other parts of the country? Does it mean that it concerns only? Does it mean that it concerns only senators and MPs from the north and southwest? Does it mean that other MPs don't visit those regions? What about the governors?
Justement, est-ce que c'est la seule route? Est-ce que c'est la seule route au Cameroun qui soit aussi déplorable?
It may not be the only road, but the unfortunate thing is that, to an extent, permit me say on your platform here that we may be talking about Bamenda, the Bamenda road here particularly, because maybe to some extent the Anglophones are people who have that culture of always want to air out their minds and air out their problems. Some people may face the same thing in other parts of the country, but they prefer to keep quiet and die in silence. But we are talking about the people who don't feel comfortable and they tell you they are not comfortable. But unfortunately, no matter how they have been crying, 4 years today, it reminds us even of the Bamenda ring road. Where is the ring road today? More than 2 decades ever since it was promised. This is
it Bia to come and do the road?
Mr.
Bia gives assignment to people, monies disbursed, people eat the money.
Mr. Lash, I don't know why you keep coming back to the question of who is to blame. I ask you a simple question here. You work for my media. Does it mean that if your employer assigns you and you fail, he simply folds his arms and keep quiet and say, oh no, Lash is the one who failed because I gave him an assignment and he didn't do it? He must come back and find out why you failed, and if possible, he calls you to book. You explain to him why you fail. But if you keep giving money to people who go and they swindle the money and you never do anything, it means you are encouraging them. And that's why I will say today, tomorrow, and I will keep insisting that the number one problem in this country is no other person than Mr. Biapol as head of state. It is not the ministers. He should sanction them. He should call them to be accountable to him as the person who assigned them, and to Cameroonians who look up to them for change. The money we are talking about is taxpayers' money. It is money that comes from us, and we have a right to know why the roads are not 30 today. So the problem begins with the head of state and not just those who fail to do their work.
Okay, Elvis, let's end with this last one with municipal updates. Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Diongute recently in Buea chaired a ceremony that had to do with the destruction of illicit arms in that part of the country. That move, is it aimed at bringing peace? So how do you rate that move that was taken by the government of Cameroon, publicly destroying illicit arms?
Well, I will still say that illicit arms, first of all, are not supposed to be encouraged. We are not supposed to.
Were they actually supposed to be destroyed or taken to the defense and security forces, probably?
That is a decision that I cannot comment on. I don't know why they decided to do what they did. But what I would rather say here is this: I don't know why they choose just the southwest. Does it mean that in other regions there are no illicit arms? Why did they do it from the southwest? Is it to tell us that those illicit arms are the ones they seize from the boys in the bush, or how? I don't know. But what I would rather say here is the most important thing is not just to get the quantity that they got and destroy, but to also look at the source of the illicit arms. Where do they come from? Who are those who supply such illicit arms? Those are some of the things they should take into consideration and be able to cut it from the source. It is like this issue of illicit drugs by the roadsides, where you see government goes to attack those who sell by the roadside, but they know where the source comes from. They know those who produce, they know those who supply, but they do not go there. So the government should begin by finding out where the illicit arms first of all come from, how they get smuggled into the country, who are those responsible, and they begin targeting it from that perspective. But now, coming back to the issue of the destruction in itself, I want to think, like I say, they might have taken to the military camp, or maybe, like you say, destroy. I don't know which one should have been.
You know that these arms have serial numbers and whatever. It might. Some of those arms are not registered, since some of them are locally made,
and some might be registered too.
And the fear is that it might get into the wrong hands. Reason why the Prime Minister.
Some are not registered, some are registered too. So, like I say, I will not want to read into, like we call it, Abu de Cristal, to know exactly why they chose to destroy them, instead of taking them maybe to the military base or what, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, we first of all recognize that the section of illicit arms is not something to encourage, but the state should take better measures to first of all stop the arms first of all from even crossing the borders. We have custom officers, and at times when you go to those borders, you have different uniform persons from different corps are we together along the road. How do the arms even get into the country and all? Those are some of the things to take into consideration, because even some of the persons who are
our border is large, and even can put even porous.
It is large and porous, but we first of all understand that there is corruption. That's what I'm driving to. There is corruption. Some of the persons who are kept there to control actually at times know that the arms are passing, but they prefer to take what they can take and let the arms continue. That's why I say the government should take better measures to see into it that first they try to see how they can fight it from the source, and then secondly,
le ministre a verrouillé la vente des armes automatiques. Le ministre il a verrouillé la vente des armes automatiques récemment.
Le MINDEF,
Bola Tanganji.
Yes, Minister Tanganji, he does so many things. And he says many things. But the question like...
No, let's say something positive about him.
Have I said something again? I have said he does many things and he says many things. Have we not seen him distributing the challenge to people who the intelligence-based persons?
Okay.
I don't know if the people took the money and they were sleeping with them under the trees or what, but he did something. Okay. I have not criticized him. I don't know why you see from the negative. I have said he does many things and he says many things.
Thank you. We have come to the end of the program. Thank you so much. You have the same trip back to you.
Est-ce qu'on peut dire quelque chose de positif au moins là avant?
On veut partager les matériels au moins c'est interne.
Ok.
Quand je dis qu'il fait beaucoup de choses, je n'ai pas dit dans le négatif. Je ne sais pas pourquoi l'index de share de dire que c'est positif.
Thank you so much, televiewers, for watching. We have come to the end of today's program. Do have a great weekend. The program was produced by Christian Tebon. For presentation, we've been Audrey Zaksa, myself, Lasha Kingsley. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.